everyone. I am Priyanka Hari and I'll be talking about the nexus between deglobalization and OFDI from emerging economies. Let's begin by examining the backdrop to this research. The world is shifting from a golden era of liberal globalization to a fragmented, inward looking global economy. Policies like Brexit, the US China trade war, and the reshoring initiatives in Europe reflect a growing protectionist mood in developed economies. But this raises a strategic question: how do emerging economies respond to this deglobalization wave? Interestingly, we see many of them accelerating their outward foreign direct investment or OFDI rather than retreating. Today's presentation explores this paradox, how deglobalization can counterintuitively fuel global expansion from the global south. For this discussion is a 2024 study by Yang, Zhang, and Li, published in the Managerial and Decision Economics Journal. The authors use panel data from 25 emerging economies over nearly 4 decades, 1980 to 2018, to study how these countries' OFDI reacts to deglobalization pressures in advanced economies. The term globalization distance is key here. It measures how far developed countries are retreating from globalization. The central argument is that as developed countries deglobalize, emerging economies, if well positioned, respond by increasing their OFDI, but this response is conditional. It depends on whether the home country has crossed a certain GDP threshold and whether it has strong institutions and government support. We'll unpack these moderating factors in detail shortly. The theoretical grounding. The study draws heavily on three key international business theories. First is the investment development path theory by Dunning, which explains how countries evolve in their FDI patterns from net recipients to net investors as they move up the global development ladder. Second, institutional theory, pioneered by North and expanded by scholars like Peng, argues that institutions like the rule of law and policy stability fundamentally shape firm behavior and market performance. Third, resource dependency theory tells us that when firms face external uncertainty, home governments can act as stabilizing agents. Together, these theories help explain why only certain emerging markets can turn deglobalization into a strategic advantage through OFDI. Is often seen as a constraint, but for emerging markets, it may create strategic space. As developed countries impose FDI restrictions and onshore supply chains, emerging economies are seizing the opportunity to step into new global rules. This asymmetry matters. For example, while the US pulls back, countries like China, India, and Vietnam are increasing the FDI in Africa, Southeast Asia, and even Latin America. Buckley and Strange argue that emerging market multinationals or EMNEs are uniquely suited to operate in volatile environments due to their experience with institutional voids at home. Major moderating factor is income level measured by GDP per capita. Yang et al. Found a clear nonlinear relationship. Only countries above $16,516 in GDP per capita saw a positive link between deglobalization and OFDI. This makes sense when we think about capacity. Higher income levels reflect stronger capital markets, educated workforces, and managerial talent, all necessary to pursue OFDI effectively. For lower income emerging economies, the risk of OFDI may still outweigh the rewards in a deglobalized climate. Next, we turn to the quality of domestic institutions. This includes everything from regulatory stability to corruption control and legal transparency. Institutional theory suggests that strong institutions give firms the legitimacy and capability to succeed in foreign markets. They reduce the liability of foreigners, enable better access to financing, and minimize bureaucratic uncertainty. Christophe et al. 2022 show that strategic agility is only possible when institutions are predictable and rules-based. Compare a country like Chile with high institutional quality to a country like Venezuela. Only one has firms capable of responding to global shocks with outbound FDI. Key moderator is home government involvement. In many emerging economies, the state is not just a regulator, it is a co-strategist. Through industrial policy, investment promotion agencies, trade diplomacy, and financial instruments, governments enable firms to globalize. So it's not just about whether deglobalization exists, but whether firms are empowered to respond. Implications for international business professionals. The implications are significant. Managers in EMNEs must evaluate whether their home environments are ready for OFDI in a fragmented global order. They must identify government programs that reduce risk and assess whether institutional weaknesses could derail global plans. Global strategies must now include geopolitical scanning, market diversification, and cross-border compliance planning. More importantly, executives must avoid reactive thinking. Deglobalization is not just a challenge, it's a strategic inflection point. By proactively engaging with institutions and leveraging state support, firms can use it to expand, not retreat. Conclude by returning to our core question: can deglobalization fuel globalization from the South? Yang et al. And the wider literature say yes, but only under certain conditions. A country must reach sufficient economic development, build robust institutions, and activate strategic government policies. If these are in place, deglobalization becomes not a wall, but a springboard. In today's multipolar world, resilience is global, and emerging economies are proving that they can lead the charge. As the saying goes, when the winds of change blow, some build walls, others build windmills. Emerging economies that choose to build windmills will thrive in this new era. The academic sources that inform this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.